Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Voyager, Season 2, Episode 16, Meld, and once again in my little swivel chair, I love it. So this episode was mind-blowingly good. I really liked this one. I would even say I loved this episode. And this episode is part of the reason why I'm rewatching the series. Because I've watched Voyager multiple times, start to finish, at least 3 times. I had no memory of this episode. I totally forgot about it. I don't know how, but I did. And it was so good. Like, I can't believe it. And it was such a good episode. I mentioned before how I'm once again on the road for business and stuff, stuck in this very boring hotel. Like, I instantly called my husband and I was like, watch this episode right now. Go get my DVDs, put it in, and watch this episode. It's so good. Like, if I was at home, I would have forced him to watch it and do a video with me. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be home for like another week. This episode has special guest star Brad Dourif, who is so good. I think of him actually from Lord of the Rings for whatever reason first, and then there's like the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest where he has a great character, and then of course 99% of the population thinks of him as the voice of Chucky, and even like the actor who played like the real Chucky before he goes into the doll. So he's a fantastic actor. Before I get into any of that, I want to go with the subplot first, just for a special shout out. The subplot's really boring. I didn't actually care for it. It's all about Paris trying to make a bet and turn Voyager kind of almost into a casino where people start betting rations because everybody only has so many replicator rations, and that's why they're almost forced to eat Neelix's food. And at one point, Paris, I don't even know what it's about. It has to do with some date or something happening at a certain time. I didn't care, to be completely honest with you. I didn't care. But Paris, like, skims the top of the bets. So every day he gets, like, a free ration. And at the end of the episode, like, Chakotay's, like, confiscates it and tells Paris to stop. And this is one of the very first altercations between Paris and Chakotay, where we start to see a rift kind of happening here that we see more in the next episode. But the reason I want to kind of special bring this up is because at one point Paris is talking to Kim and he's like, hey, so let's go get some food and stuff because I have an extra ration today. Let's get a steak. Let's get this. And he briefly mentions Raktajino. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool because I hadn't heard the term before, at least in Voyager. Like, I think it was only mentioned in Deep Space Nine. So I liked how they mentioned that. Okay, so for this episode, like I said, mind-blowingly good. I love this episode. Brad Dourif plays Suter, whatever, who is a Betazoid. And once again, I think this is the first time we've seen a major Betazoid character since, like, The Next Generation. They were brought up in Deep Space Nine, but we didn't see a lot of them. And, like, anytime you see Brad Dourif, I hate to typecast him, but he plays creepy so well that he's almost typecast. And when you see him, it's like he just fits in that role. Where B'Elanna calls Tuvok into engineering, and because she finds a body, like, hidden in, like, one of the little behind-the-wall things, and the body looks like it was electrocuted. And so Tuvok and B'Elanna go to the doctor, and they're like, so did he just grab a circuit and he fried to death? And the doctor's like, no, he was murdered, like, very clearly. He was hit. You could do a test to see if a moving object hit a stationary figure, or if a stationary figure hit a moving object, or a moving figure hit a stationary object. Because Tuvok is like, well, maybe he fell over, hit his head, and then was electrocuted. And the doctor's not like, no, he was hit and then put in here. So Tuvok questions Suter, who's Brad Dourif, and, like, instantly Brad Dourif just gets this almost like sociopathic, like, I'm not gonna lie to you. And Tuvok's like, you don't have to answer any questions, you just can ask for counsel. And Suter's like, no, I'm not gonna lie to you, I killed him. I was very surprised by how little blood there was, and I thought if I put him in there he would electrocute so much the body would vaporize, but I must have damaged the circuit somehow. And it's so creepy listening to him talk. And Tuvok needs motive on why he did it. And Suter's just like, I didn't like the way he looked at me. And it's very sociopathic. And, like, B'Elanna and Chakotay are there because Suter was part of the Maquis crew. And they're both like, yeah, he was kind of off. There was something weird about him. And it was just weird. And so Tuvok ends up doing a mind meld with Suter to kind of see if he can come up with a reasoning. And it almost drives Tuvok insane, where Tuvok, like, Suter starts, like, pretending that he can now, like, control his desire to kill, and he starts finding a new focus. And whereas Tuvok goes to the opposite extreme, where he, like, locks himself in his room, and, like, I kid you not, that scene where he locks himself in his room and, like, puts a force field on the door, relieves himself of command, and tells the computer, like, tell Captain Janeway I am no longer fit for duty. Like, I got shivers. Like, I was like, shit, like, this is real. Like, Tuvok cannot control himself. And then finally, of course, Janeway shows up and his apartment is destroyed. And Tim Russ is a fantastic actor. He's very, very, very good at what he does. And I mean, we've seen him in The Next Generation several times. We even saw him in Deep Space Nine once. And to the scenes where Tuvok starts having emotion and he's in the medical bay and, like, throws the chair at the force field, like, it's an intense episode. It was such a well done episode that I loved it. I did kind of, because I had no memory of it, I did look it up, and Brad Dourif shows up like 2 more times. No memory of those episodes. Like, it's probably been at least 10 years since I've watched all of Voyager, but I'm so excited to see those episodes now. For those who have seen this one, what did you think about Brad Dourif as a guest star? What did you think about seeing Tuvok kind of lose control? And what did you just think overall? Like I said, I love this episode. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. All the messages, the friend requests, all of it. You guys are great. And I will see you guys next time for Dreadnought.